Hello, seems you are interested in the innovation program. I'm very happy about this, but as you clicked, I assume you need some more informations. The first one is, my name is Fritz, I'm the co-owner of Day8, and I'll be the main trainer and also guide you through the details right now. But instead of just reading out what is already written, I brought some quotes to underline why are we doing what we are doing and why it might also be important for you. We have a 5-step innovation program. We divided it into 7 different sessions. Introduction, understand, where we will have 2 sessions, ideate, 2 sessions, validate, and then a check-in the end. The first one, the introductory session, this is where we will talk about cognitive science, why it is so hard to innovate, why innovation fails so often, and we will also dig into why it is needed to work differently, because it needs different mindsets and tools than, for example, our normal day-to-day work. And when it comes to innovation, there's a lot of theory out there. For any innovation stage, there's different models and literature written, etc. And it can be very complex, but we tried to basically boil it down to a very, very simple process that you can use along the whole way, and then work your way iterative from basically the beginning until the end. In the second and third session, we will talk about the problem. The problem is a very, very important part when it comes to innovation, because if you understand the problem very, very well, then it's way easier to come up with solutions. And when Gandhi, who did a lot of groundwork when it comes to problem science, then he said that the formulation of a problem often is more essential than its solution, and we believe this is very, very true. But there is even a second part, because one thing is the framing of the problem, but there's a second part which is the reframing of the problem, which helps to come from problem focus to ideas. And Harvard Business Review once said that creative solutions nearly always come from an alternative definition of the problem, and that basically says that you try to look at it from different angles, and with this maybe come to problems or even already some ideas on how to solve the problem. In the next 2 sessions, we will talk about ideations, so creativity, and there's people out there who think of themselves not as very creative persons, but creativity is a learnable skill, and this has a lot to do with a thing which is called fixedness. And if we overcome fixedness, then we become more creative. And fixedness is a mental barrier which is fixed in our brain, and it's a very needed one, but not in innovation. But the moment we understand this, we can basically develop strategies and structures and frameworks that help us to become more creative. And this is something what Drew Boyd talks about in his book Inside the Box. He developed a theory which is called systematic inventive thinking. It's a very, very helpful one, but it's not the only one we will look at. No, we will also look at more known ones like design thinking. We will look into jobs to be done and a few smaller exercises, best practices we know from other areas. The moment we have ideas on how we could solve a problem, then we can often not rely on our gut feeling. Gut feelings are very good when we have experience, but in innovation we are developing something new. So it's often more about developing an idea and then validating if it's really the right one. And this is what we will talk about in our 4th session. And research is a crucial part of that, and part of research can also be prototyping. Prototyping is a handy tool to get feedback because you're talking about something the other person understands usually way better than if you just explain your solution. So we will talk about research on one hand, we will talk about prototyping, and also about some best practices when it comes to interviewing those users or potential users. because interviews are not so straightforward. It's really hard to not be suggestive there, but we have a bit of a checklist that you can just follow. And then a few weeks after we have our program, we finished our program, we have a coaching check-in, because often enough after you leave a training, it's very, very great, you're motivated, and then you realize that it's not as simple as it all felt in the training. So you run into some hurdles, some challenges, you find some obstacles on how to implement them or those learnings. And this is what we will talk about, so you can come up with any challenge you face, and we will give you some best practices, we will give you some tips on how to overcome it, and can reflect basically on the topics we talked about before. So after this program, you will be a certified innovation master, which means on one hand you have a certificate, but on the other hand, more importantly, you have learned a lot about innovation. And when I say learning, then there's a few things we have to focus on in the online space, because it's very hard to communicate. You lose a lot of channels. That's why I am here and visible all the time, just as I'm doing it here now in the video. The second one is we make our content very visual, so it's more tangible for you what I'm saying. Instead of reading out slides, I'm rather talking and underlining it with graphs and pictures. And the third one is exercise. So you will also practice a lot of those things we are telling you, so that you can remember them easier. If you still need more information, please drop me a line via LinkedIn, via email, or whatever. We can also have a small chat via video chat or something, to really make sure that the program is something for you. It should be helpful, and if we still made an error and you will say afterwards that didn't help me, we have a money back warranty, so it's very, very safe to book the program. I'm really looking forward to seeing you there. My name is Fritz, I'm the co-founder of Day8, and I'm happy to run this program for you.